One, the second attempted assassination of Donald Trump. We break down what went wrong and what we can read into two assassination attempts within 2 months of a former president and the leading presidential candidate for the United States of America, with the former founder of Blackwater, Erik Prince. Two, Fox News digital reporter Brooke Singman has the first exclusive interview with Donald Trump, and she joins us live here on The Will Cain Show. Three, mass psychosis created by the media. You'll hear the clips from MSNBC. You'll hear the clips from NBC. You'll see the tweets and ask, has this not led to an environment of mass psychosis that leads to assassination? It is The Will Cain Show, streaming live. FoxNews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel, the Fox News Facebook page. Terrestrial radio, market to market, and always on demand by subscribing at Apple or Spotify. Or if you'd rather watch The Will Cain Show, as you should, every Monday through Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern Time, simply subscribe on YouTube. It's the second assassination attempt of Donald Trump within 2 months. 58-year-old Hawaii resident, North Carolinian, Ryan Wesley Routh, detained, arrested, caught after sneaking just outside the property of Trump International Golf Course in Palm Beach, Florida. He approached a tree line from a public street, approached a fence line, armed with an AK-47, 2 backpacks, and several ceramic tiles for personal protection. He pointed a scoped rifle onto the golf course, approximately one hole ahead of the hole being played by Donald Trump. Apparently, Donald Trump was on the 4th hole, and Routh was somewhere around the 5th or 6th hole. A Secret Service agent scouring the golf course ahead of Donald Trump noticed the barrel of the rifle and opened fire on the alleged assassin. He took off, got into his car, where he was photographed, both the car and his license plate and his image, by a witness. Within minutes, he was tracked down on I-95 and arrested. He is now in custody, and there will be much to learn. There will be questions like, what led to this kind of insanity? What led to this attempt on President Donald Trump? There are tweets where he says things like, democracy is on the ballot. He was also, for what it's worth, a fanatic when it came to the war in Ukraine, going so far as to dye half of his head blue and going to Kiev and trying to raise civilian soldiers to fight for Ukraine. He gave several interviews. In fact, he's been interviewed by the Financial Times, the New York Times, and many other media outlets. And here he is, just to give you a taste of the alleged assassin, talking to Newsweek.
This is about good versus evil. This is a storybook, any movie we've ever watched, this is definitely evil against good. I mean, we're battling a situation here where, the Ukrainians and the rest of the world are caring and kind and generous and unselfish and take care of one another. And it's just a matter of, we need to stand up for that. That is the most important thing in the world, is just to show human beings that we're kind and we're caring and that we take care of one another.
What led a man to go all the way to Ukraine, dye half his head blue, become a fanatic when it comes to Ukraine, to tweet things like Donald Trump wants to be a modern American slave master, to suggest that democracy is on the ballot? We're going to break down the role of the media a little bit later here on The Will Cain Show with Fox News media analyst Joe Concha. But questions about exactly how this man knew Donald Trump was playing golf, when he was playing golf. Is it just simply the second lucky circumstance for a would-be assassin within 2 months? And what is going wrong around the protection of former President Donald Trump? Let's get into all of that right now with story number one. Erik Prince is the founder of the private military company Blackwater. He hosts Off Leash with Erik Prince. He's also the author of Civilian Warriors and the founder of the Unplugged Phone, which you should check out at unplugged.com. He is an expert that we are very privileged to have this morning with us in the wake of this news. Erik, I'll just start very open with you. You saw this yesterday. You've had less than 24 hours, but about 18 hours to reflect. What are your thoughts about the attempted assassination of Donald Trump?
It's the fruit of the constant over-the-top tactics of the left, saying Donald Trump is Hitler, democracy is at stake, all the rest. It empowers every nut job on the periphery of the left to say, I'm going to self-actualize and kill Donald Trump to save democracy. That's why this guy literally made his final firing position with ballistic plates against the fence and a GoPro mounted because he was going to film himself killing Donald Trump. It was a trophy hunt for him. And it's disgusting. And it's disgusting for every Democrat politician, activist, or whatever saying anything to eliminate Donald Trump, to take him out, to take him all the pejoratives they use. It's disgusting. And this is what causes it. And I suppose they're going to keep doing it until they're successful or until they feel consequences for the kind of threatening language that they're using.
So just to illustrate your point, Erik, I want to play a clip. This is from Claire McCaskill, Senator, talking about how she views Donald Trump.
A lot of people have tried to draw similarities between Mussolini and Hitler and the use of the terminology like vermin and the drive that those men had towards autocracy and dictatorship. The difference, though, I think makes Donald Trump even more dangerous, and that is he has no philosophy he believes in. He is not trying to expand the boundaries of the United States of America.
That's former Senator from Missouri, Claire McCaskill. Now, to your point, Erik, did that motivate? I think a deeper conversation we need to have is about the formation of mass psychosis, an entire society that is given into hysteria, or at least a portion of society that's given into hysteria. And then you apply it to a single individual. This one, alleged assassin Ryan Routh. Here's what he tweeted. I think we have this. We can put it up on the screen. He tweeted at the President of the United States. This is Joe Biden in April 22nd of 2024. POTUS, your campaign should be called something like KADAF, Keep America Democratic and Free. Trump's should be MASA, Make Americans Slaves Again, Master. Democracy is on the ballot, and we cannot lose. We cannot afford to fail. The world is counting on us to show the way. Now, Erik, this is a crazy man. But the point I think that you're making, we all should be focused on today, is how much a crazy man can be motivated by people that should know better, by their rhetoric and the environment they create in America.
He is a fellow traveler of the hard left, the irresponsible left, the people that created the mass hysteria around COVID as well, and whipped people into a frenzy to phone in their neighbors if they weren't wearing a mask in their cars. So, yeah, and now they've convinced, look, the left is about power. It's about holding on to power. And they see Donald Trump's popularity and his success in the polls as being a threat to their continuation of power. And so they whip up all kinds of masked words, short of calling directly for his execution. Although I think Dan Goldman called for his elimination. So I'm not sure what that even means. I mean, look, they've tried everything. Tucker Carlson was right. They've tried lawfare. They've tried lawsuits. They've tried removing him from the ballots. Now they're trying to remove him from the earth. And it's disgusting and it's wrong. And perhaps the left needs to be warned that if their language continues and something happens to Donald Trump, there will be consequences and repercussions that they cannot even imagine. I think the term sow the wind, reap the whirlwind might be appropriate.
Tucker Carlson saying some months ago that there would be an assassination attempt on Donald Trump's life. We talked about that here on the Will Cain Show in February with Matt Taibbi, that it is the inevitable result. When you call someone Hitler, why would you not expect them to stop Hitler? What I didn't, I can't speak to Tucker, Erik, what I didn't consider was the potentiality for multiple attempts on Donald Trump. But now that we've crossed that bridge, why should we assume it stops at 2? If you have motivated crazy people, and I will submit, the thing about it is, obviously not everyone on the left is crazy, and not everyone on the left wants to be an assassin. But if you create mass psychosis, you give motivation to those that are crazy. So what I would say is how do they protect, or what I would ask, Erik, is let's get into a little bit of the protection around Donald Trump. when you hear this, okay, they're scouting a hole or two ahead. It's a public golf course. There's public roadways around the golf course. Do you see success or failure of the Secret Service here? I honestly sometimes wonder, like, can you protect somebody that has so many crazy people motivated around them? Like, there's a limit at some point, is there not, to what you can do to protect someone? What do you see here with the Secret Service?
Well, here's the thing, whether it's thoroughly sweeping that entire course or having more patrols out or dog teams or whatever that are looking and hunting, just doing one hole ahead is clearly not enough. The fact that, I mean, thank God that advanced guy saw the barrel, saw this firing position. If the crazy shooter had actually worn a ghillie suit, like a professional sniper would have done, this would be a different outcome, because you can literally walk up to within a meter or two of somebody with a ghillie suit and you won't see him. But the fact that this idiot put ballistic panels against the fence with the barrel ready to go with his GoPro, again, trophy hunting, disgusting. I'm very disappointed that the 4 rounds that the Secret Service fired were not effective, that didn't score. I really hope they scrub his electronics to see what he looked at to radicalize him this much. Who influenced him that much? And Trump should sue all the people that were in this guy's feed that stimulated him to commit attempted murder.
You know something else I'd want to know, scrubbing his electronics, Eric? This seems to me, I've heard somebody say it, I'm not, this isn't my own independent original thought, or not my sole independent original question. Somebody said this is the $1 million question. How did he know that Donald Trump was playing golf that day? How did he know what time Donald Trump would be on the golf course? Somebody point out there's 3 options here. The 3 options are, 1, he was scouting Donald Trump, tailing Donald Trump, keeping up with his movements in some way for some extended period of time, which then would raise more questions about the security around Donald Trump and those that can see if he's got, a stalker in this way. Second option, he got incredibly lucky. He just climbed out there, maybe hung out. We don't know how long he hung out. We don't know how long he was on the course, buried in the woods. But he got lucky, which was the same thing sort of said about Butler, Pennsylvania. We got a 22-year-old, 20-year-old kid who just gets lucky in picking the perfect sniper position. Or 3, Eric, he had knowledge. He had information somehow from somewhere about Donald Trump's movements that day.
Yeah, whether it's a staffer at the club, a grounds crew, a federal official, who knows? That's why I called for last night for Ron DeSantis to seize control of the investigation, because I have no confidence in the FBI actually doing an honest, apolitical job at investigating this. The nonsense around the Butler, Pennsylvania shooter is a memory hole. It's a black hole. Where did this kid learn to do the explosives in Butler, Pennsylvania? There's an enormous amount of unanswered detail. Nothing is forgotten from the FBI. Ron DeSantis did come out last night and said Florida would run an independent parallel investigation. I wish it was not parallel. It should be primary. If I were this governor of Florida, I would not have turned over this idiot to the feds at all. I would have had him investigated, interrogated, go through all his electronics before the feds get to touch anything, because the feds have again failed to do their job. We have a federal government that's supposed to do national security stuff. Well, they're 0 for 2.
So our would-be assassins, as Donald Trump tweeted out, or Truth socialed out yesterday, 0 for 2. I saw you say that, Eric. I saw you call for that investigation from Governor Ron DeSantis. And I hear you today saying, well, he should have held on to the prisoner. The interesting thing about that is he didn't. So I wonder how limited his investigative abilities are, because now everything has to run through the feds, right? So he can run a parallel investigation, but isn't he somewhat now beholden to the feds? Like he doesn't have any firsthand access to at least electronic information, I would think, and things like that. I just wonder how effective his investigation can be, because it's going to be inherently subservient to the federal investigation.
Yeah. Again, I guess the jury's out on that. But look, it is a repetitive failure of federal institutions to actually do their job. Thank God that advanced person was heads up enough to notice a final firing position against a fence. I think this guy set up. So Trump was about to play the fifth hole, which is in the northeast corner of the country club. And there's a canal running east to west along the top side of the course. And so this guy, I think, got between the canal and the course, came in and along that tree line, and that's probably where he set up. And so I looked, the closest he could have gotten, or as soon as he could have gotten line of sight, would have been about 150-yard shot. Again, very easy with a scoped rifle to hit a 150-yard shot. Again, a very, very lucky save by the Secret Service.
So, Erik, you have obviously a lot of life experience in theaters like Ukraine. What do you take from this guy? Okay, I just want to share with the audience. There is some question out there. People are trying to draw questions about his political affiliations. They seem pretty clear. He did tweet favorably about Vivek Ramaswamy.
A hardcore leftist.
Yeah. Right. He did. They're pointing to tweets he said about Vivek Ramaswamy or whatnot, but the vast majority of what he had to say was about in anti-Trump, pro-Biden Harris. I have here, it looks like financial contributions to Act Blue. I mean, numerous. They're all small numbers, $10, $15 to Act Blue, the Progressive Political Action Committee. But then there's the Ukraine thing, Erik. Like, what do you make of this? This is where your life experience comes in. I mean, on one hand, it's almost comical. Here he is with half his head dyed blue, and he seems like this ridiculous guy that wants to show up in Kiev and throw some pop-up tents for civilian fighters downtown, occupy Kiev. On the other hand, I can point to half a dozen, weirdly, interviews he's done. Now, they weren't all favorable, but meaning they all weren't calling him a hero. Some of them were calling him a boob, but, FT, New York Times, on and on. What am I supposed to process about this guy and him wanting to be a freedom fighter in Ukraine?
I'd asked other people I know, and they'd heard of him around the Afghan evacuation and around his efforts to recruit Afghan fighters out of Iran with fake Pakistani docs to go to Ukraine to fight. And so somehow, again, this mass psychosis effect, he convinced his ill brain that it was the next holy war he should be involved in, and that was what he was all in on. So yeah, clearly the guy is a mentally ill, left-wing crazy, and thank God. But again, the mass psychosis they've created of Trump as Hitler is what stimulates lots of people like this. The fact that, and here's the thing, again, lucky that he was stopped, but a professional team would have been successful yesterday. Right. A professional hit team, a ghillie suit, a drone attack, a longer rifle shot from an elevated position. There's an enormous amount of reckless disregard going on from these federal agencies, and it needs to be stopped. I understand that just a whistleblower on the Butler, Pennsylvania stuff that Senator Hawley released, and it said that the agent in charge failed some key tests. Okay, a Homeland Security person failed, but was waived by Director Cheadle then, and that most of the DHS agents had no formal VIP executive protection training, but had only attended a 2-hour video course, like a Zoom course, a 2-hour Zoom lecture, and that's what's qualifying them to protect Donald J. Trump, then the candidate for president of the United States. Former president. It's absolutely ludicrous. And I just compare that to what even we as Blackwater were required to do for very high threat protection work in a war zone for the State Department. We had to have significant military or law enforcement tactical experience. And then we had to do not a 2-hour course, but 23 days of training at 10 to 12 hours a day, plus psych evaluations, plus all kinds of testing in the middle of that. 2 hours versus 23 days. very different math. So again, you have a lot of unserious people put in positions of responsibility that they're just not qualified or worthy of being in. And sadly, I think that's a microcosm of our entire government. A lot of very unserious people that are just run amok and unaccountable. And the next administration has to just burn a lot of this down. Not all of it, but my God, the whole thing needs to be put on a severe diet, because there's just a ungodly amount of wastage to the point of insanity and embarrassment. And this is not what built our society in the first place.
Two more questions here with Erik Prince before we let him go about his day. I really appreciate your time here, Erik. But bringing back in your experience in theaters of war, is this alleged assassin, Ryan Routh, is his involvement both in Afghanistan and Ukraine, is it simply evidence of mass psychosis? That's not to question the existence of mass psychosis. What I'm asking is, does that evidence only point to mass psychosis? Because from my seat, obviously as a civilian who's not been in a theater of war, it seems crazy that some dude who's like a small contractor in Hawaii could just go, I'm going to be somebody at the center of getting people out of Afghanistan. I'm going to be a civilian fighter in Ukraine. And by the way, one of the reporters that interviewed him said, well, I found out about him because I spoke to an Afghan fighter on our side who then got into Iran and wanted to get out of Iran and saw that Ukraine was an opportunity to get out of Iran, and he connected with this guy somehow, Routh. So he gets in, right? My point is, he is crazy. It does seem to be. He is kind of a nut, meaning, he got at least the superficial characteristics, and there are reports from people in his past life, neighbors, who said he was always kind of a wingnut. But I'm just wondering, is it that easy, Erik? Or is his involvement in some things that are pretty high level, I would think, Afghanistan, Ukraine, and his connections, something worthy of much more investigation?
Certainly worth asking those questions, but people I've talked to in both the Afghan evacuation and around Ukraine, they had heard of him, and they had prior knowledge of him being crazy and not to be taken seriously in any way. He claims he was part of the Ukrainian Foreign Legion, and he was not. He wanted to, but he had no experience and no merit to it. So I think another leftist, mentally ill, that was then made it, from being a savior in Afghanistan to Ukraine being the holy war for him, and then his holy war became destroying Donald Trump. And so there's a lot of those questions that need to be answered, and I just don't trust the FBI to get those answers and to release them in a public way. Look, federal government, federal agencies never want to investigate themselves. When Robert Hansen, the FBI head of counterintelligence, was finally caught for spying after the CIA got evidence on it, the whole Hansen damage assessment team basically shut down prematurely because they just didn't want to even know how bad it was. No bureaucracy ever wants to actually clean up its own act. It can only be done when it is imposed on them. And that's my point. Discipline, accountability, efficiency, effectiveness must be imposed on these government entities.
Referencing Robert Hansen, one of the most famous Soviet spies at the highest levels of the FBI. There's been movies made, books written about what happened with Robert Hansen. Last question. You've said more than once, and you said it in our past conversation as well when we talked about the Butler, Pennsylvania incident, Erik. You said any type of professional attempt, and we know specifically with Iran, desires to end Donald Trump's life, threats to end Donald Trump's life. Factoring that in, right? Now you have 2 assassination attempts in 2 months, and as to your point, neither of them appear to be real professional. Factoring in that this is what you get when it's unprofessional, what would you get when it's professional? How concerned are you for the ongoing threat to Donald Trump's life?
Extremely, because a 6 or an 8-man team is a very, very different, much more dangerous scenario. I'm sure there was probably not even vehicle barriers. If somebody wanted to crash a vehicle and move a bigger team onto that golf course, they probably had the means to do that through some of those outer perimeters of that fence. I'm sure there was not hard physical stops. So the permutations of problems. Why, if you're gonna supplement the Secret Service on this, you have to not just say, Secret Service, heal yourself, but have some outside mentorship, and you have to put predators around the president that will look, especially in the advance team, to say, these are the 10 ways that I'm going to attack and kill Donald Trump. And then you make sure you plug every one of those holes. If you're not doing that, you are not effective about your job. There's an enormous amount of latent JSOC capacity at Delta and SEAL Team 6 right now. Detail 5 and 5. Take 5 of their best people, supplement the Secret Service that way. Put them on the advanced team. You'll see a very, very different performance because those guys are predators. They know how to hunt. That's how you have to do this.
He knows what he's talking about. He's the founder of the private military company Blackwater. You can catch him on Off Leash with Erik Prince, or check out his book, Civilian Warriors. And he's also got a phone to help you with your privacy, the Unplugged Phone. Go to unplugged.com to check that out. Really appreciate your time. It's an important day, Erik. Thank you so much.
You bet, Will. Good luck.
All right, take care. That's Erik Prince here on the Will Cain Show. Okay, we're going to break down exactly mass psychosis and the role played. How is it created? This is no small topic, but it is one that you can feel the wind and you can see the hand waving you can feel the wind off of the hand waving to do away with that conversation. No. Let's not focus on a second attempt on the life of Donald Trump. Let's focus on Springfield, Ohio. Let's get into that mass psychosis, plus an exclusive interview with Donald Trump. We're with Brooke Singman, who just this morning sat down with the former president. Next on the Will Cain Show.
It's time to take the quiz.
5 questions, 5 minutes a day, 5 days a week.
History, pop culture, science, sports, civics. How much do you know? Let's find out.
Who was the first person to walk on the moon?
Jackson or something?
Neil Armstrong.
Take the quiz every weekday at thequiz.fox and then listen to the quiz podcast to find out how you did.
Play, share, and of course, listen to The Quiz right now at thequiz.fox.
Streaming now on Fox Nation, a new season of The Real Hatfields and McCoys, Forever Feuding.
We're a moonshine family.
The longest-running American drama.
Hatfields, I'm coming after the moonshine business.
Returns to Fox Nation.
My daddy taught me if somebody's hurting you until you kill them.
That's a family tradition.
With all new episodes.
Show them what the Hatfields are made of.
We have to shut them down.
Never let McCoy outdo me.
We'll see what happens at the end.
The Real Hatfields and McCoys, Forever Feuding. A new season streaming now on Fox Nation. Sign up at foxnation.com.
The world of business moves fast. Stay on top of it with the Fox Business Rundown every Monday and Friday. Fox Business reporters, anchors, and hosts will bring you beneath the stock market speculation and boardroom drama to tell you about the biggest business stories of today. Whether you're on Main Street or Wall Street, Fox Business is invested in you.
Listen to the Fox Business Rundown every Monday and Friday at foxbusinesspodcasts.com or wherever you download your favorite podcasts.
An exclusive interview with Donald Trump from Brooke Singman. She joins us in just a moment here on the Will Cain Show. Streaming live at foxnews.com, the Fox News YouTube channel, and the Fox News Facebook page. If you're joining us today and you want to join us every day, we're here. 12 o'clock Eastern time, Fox News YouTube and Facebook. Or if you're going over to the Will Cain Show on YouTube, hit subscribe and you'll see past episodes. Coming up later this week, we've got a bunch of big shows. We got Tony Robbins, we got Pete Hegseth, we've got Kash Patel. And a big interview coming up with Dr. Marty McCary, which you're going to want to hear about what's happened to medicine. That's all coming up a little bit later this week here on the Will Cain Show. I want to share with you this tweet from alleged assassin Ryan Routh. This is him tweeting at Vladimir Putin. Okay, we just talked about his mass psychosis when it comes to Ukraine. He's tweeting at actually Zelensky, the leader of Ukraine. He says, a Zelensky official, I am an American coming to fight with you in Ukraine. I'm flying into Krakow and will take any transport to Kiev to meet you and fight to the death. We must get every civilian in the world to come and join the fight. I will be the example. Attack Moscow now. I mean, this is the ranting of a madman, but a madman fed, in my unequivocal opinion, by the mainstream media. But let's break down the latest. Fox News digital reporter Brooke Singman is with us now. And this morning, Brooke, as I understand, excuse me, you sat down with the former president. I think it's his first interview since the attempted assassination. And I'd love to hear about what you heard from Donald Trump.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. So we didn't sit down, but we did chat on the phone. But I will say you're not alone in that thought that this man was fed by the mainstream media. Actually, that's what former President Trump told me on the phone this morning. He said, he was fed by the media, who continues to take the words of current President Biden, Vice President Harris, and their rhetoric, calling Trump a threat to democracy. Democrats are constantly calling Trump a threat to this nation, a threat to democracy, a threat to the world. And a lot of them, even, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries just yesterday said, we must stop them, referring to Republicans and Donald Trump. So Trump said that the media is also to blame, but really what he said is he feels that Biden and Harris and Democrats' rhetoric is what is causing for him to be shot at, is what he said. This is really crazy. We are here. It's Monday. It's a Monday in September. We're 50 days out from Election Day. We should just be covering campaign trail stuff, right? But this is the second assassination attempt against a former U.S. president, the Republican presidential nominee, who's leading in many polls. And it feels like people are desensitized to it. And I think I talked about this a little bit last week with some of our colleagues here at Fox. The former president of the United States was shot in July, but we don't talk about it anymore. I mean, we do here, but you don't see people talking about this in the media anymore. And so Trump, of course, this morning, he says he's fine. He said he's safe. He praised the Secret Service for, rushing him to safety. He was glad everyone was safe yesterday. But, to have gone through that another time in just, not even 2 months? I mean, it's insane.
Right. I like your point about the attention span, Brooke, because it's moved on within 2 months of literally a bullet that struck the president. And, okay, there's two levels to this. There's the insane but helping form mass psychosis wing of the left. And I'm going to give you and everyone listening and watching an illustration of that. This is Rachel Vindman. Now, her handle on Twitter is NatSec Hobbyist. Okay, her husband, Alexander Vindman, famed witness in the impeachment against Donald Trump over his call to Ukraine. She tweeted yesterday, I was about to say last night, but it was not last night. It was at 3:16 p.m. The attempted assassination, this story yesterday went down at 1:15 Eastern time. 2 hours later, she tweets, "No ears were harmed. Carry on with your Sunday afternoon." Okay, so an immediate dismissal of an attempted assassination. And I will wave my hand at her as a crazy wing of the left, okay? Now, here's the thing about your point about attention span. There's also the non-crazy portion of society that just rides along the surface of the news. I often talk about that, Brooke. And I do wonder with them, how long will they last on this story? I almost feel it already going, already moving. Like this story will be gone. I'm not saying it should, but I have a feeling it will be gone. And the attention will move on from yet another assassination attempt of Donald Trump.
I agree with you. I mean, I'm looking down at my phone to just read you exactly what Trump said to me today. He said, the media is made up of fools that will spew Democrats' garbage and spew their sick philosophies and will protect Democrats at all costs, and they can't believe they get away with it. Democrats are totally protected by the media. And that's what he said, and that it just goes along with what you had started this block of the show with. I mean, who knows how long this story will go for? Of course, it's Monday. It's the day after. But, you would think that this is a story that we would and should be talking about for weeks and months. But, of course, we know that outside of Fox, people have stopped talking about the assassination attempt in July. He was shot in July. He wasn't shot yesterday. So how long did that assassination attempt get coverage for?
Right.
Not that long. He didn't get shot yesterday, as that person on Twitter said. So how long will the media cover this? We don't know. But Trump is blaming Democrats. He's blaming the media. He's blaming the rhetoric. And, you've seen President Biden. You've seen Vice President Harris. And this has been going on since they took power, took over in 2021 from Trump. And they've called Trump a threat to democracy over and over, but Trump says that they are actually the real threat to this nation. He said they're destroying the nation from the inside and from the outside. He said they're allowing illegals to pour into the country, and on the world stage, the United States is not even close to as strong as it was under his administration just 4 years ago. So we'll have to take a look and see how this second assassination attempt will impact him in the polls. Will it mobilize, his voters further? I'm sure there's a lot of energy behind the Trump support in terms of getting to the polls on Election Day. But what about those people on the fence? Will this help them? And will they listen to what he's saying about the fact that it's not his rhetoric that is causing violence. It's actually from the left, or that's at least what he's saying today.
A couple of quick questions, Brooke, about your phone call with Donald Trump. What was his demeanor? What was he like on the phone?
I spoke to him yesterday, and he was steady yesterday. He was fine yesterday. Today he was a little bit, he was fine and he was strong and he sounded like normal President Trump, but you could tell that the reality kind of set in a little. And he sounded not angry, but firm in what he believes right now, because this is a man who is facing dozens of charges. Obviously, he's seen a lot of somewhat victories in those lawsuits that he's been facing for the last several months. Second assassination attempt, they're always after him. He's been defending himself against the media, against Democrats, against everything for the past
Was he rattled at all?
I don't think so. I don't think he's rattled at all. I think he just wants it to be known that he realizes what's happening to him, and he just wants to fight for this country. He just repeatedly kept saying, they are the threat to democracy. I will save this country. And, that's just his line. And I believe he really means it. Like, he loves this country, and that is why he's running. And so to be able to speak with him today was a great opportunity, obviously, to get his thoughts. I did reach out to the White House.
Right.
They have not responded to my request for comment. I did reach out to the Harris campaign, tried to get a comment from Tim Walz, her VP Picks campaign staff, and they haven't responded. So they didn't decline to comment yet, but they just haven't responded. So we're waiting to see what they'll say. Obviously, just to add this balance in here, the White House did say that they were relieved that the president was okay yesterday. They did come out quickly with a statement to say that they were relieved that Trump was safe. And they all now keep saying there is no room for political violence in our country. And there isn't. But of course, Trump is saying that their rhetoric surrounding him and how much they really, that whole Trump derangement syndrome thing that he says people have, he believes that is the cause of this. And of course, this man, this would-be assassin, he's donated to Democrats. He is obviously, as I'm sure you've seen on social media, he has been kind of repeating the Biden campaign, the Harris campaign slogans of, protecting democracy from Trump. So he was a supporter of Democrats, and this is crazy to see, but it's not the first time that we've seen it. I mean, dating back all the way to 2017, Will, the congressional baseball practice when House Majority Whip Steve Scalise was shot, that was a Democrat supporter as well. So there's a lot of inflammatory language in our politics today. And so this could
good
be
job,
the result
Brooke.
of that.
Good job getting that phone call with Donald Trump last night. And again, this morning, we appreciate you jumping on the Will Cain Show to give us the latest from the former president.
Thanks,
Brooke Singman, thank you. All right, so let's do this. Let's listen to the media. Let's listen to what they've had to say. Not before that might have led to the climate, the climate that is a second assassination attempt of Donald Trump. But let's listen to the media after, okay? Has there been a change in the rhetoric? Has there been any self-reflection? I know you're going to be disappointed. But let's listen to the media and break it down with Joe Concha next on The Will Cain Show.
Stay on top of the latest forecast with America's Weather Team in the palm of your hands.
Here's the latest from America's Weather Center.
It's Fox weather updates throughout your busy day, every day.
That heat's going to be out there for one more day.
Temperatures being 30 degrees above average.
Put the power of over 100 meteorologists and the worldwide resources of Fox in your hands with the Fox Weather Podcast. Precise, personal, powerful. Subscribe and listen now at foxnewspodcasts.com. We're bringing forecasting grit to the gridiron. Fox Weather is storming the field with the risk of weather impact on the hottest NFL matchups all season long, delivering unmatched insight from the leader in weather news and how the forecast could affect your favorite players. We are taking you right into the end zone with Fox Weather's exclusive weather forecasting technology and the risk of weather impact for every single game of the regular season. Listen to Storming the Field every Friday on foxnewspodcasts.com. From the Fox News Podcasts Network.
Hey there, it's me, Kennedy. Make sure to check out my podcast, Kennedy Saves the World. It is 5 days a week. Every week, we check in with Jimmy Fallon, bring in authors for the book club, and even treat some of your favorite Fox personalities to a very special happy hour. Download and listen at foxnewspodcast.com or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast.
Kennedy Saves the World. America's listening to Fox News.
If what we're looking at is mass formation psychosis, the same type of thing that we've seen with COVID, and not a province exclusively owned by the left, but monopolized by the left, well, then let's dive into what the media has said since the second assassination attempt of Donald Trump. It's the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, the Fox News YouTube channel, the Fox News Facebook page. Hit subscribe at Apple or Spotify, and you can listen to the Will Cain Show 5 days a week, including a Friday Cain on Sports edition of the Will Cain Show. And then we'll also set reminders for you to jump in with us every day at 12 o'clock Eastern time on YouTube and Facebook. Jump into the comments section and become a part of the community, become a part of the Will Cain Show. So this made its rounds yesterday. This is after the reported second assassination attempt of Donald Trump. This is NBC's August esteemed, quote-unquote, dignified voice of the most mainstream of mainstreamy media. This is Lester Holt of the NBC Nightly News talking about Donald Trump.
Today's apparent assassination attempt comes amid increasingly fierce rhetoric on the campaign trail itself. Mr. Trump, his running mate J.D. Vance continue to make baseless claims about Haitian immigrants in Ohio. This weekend, there were new bomb threats in that town.
That is how they reported or made the transition from reporting on the attempted life of Donald Trump into Springfield, Ohio. This attempt on the president's life comes amid hateful and violent rhetoric from the former president. Why don't you just say he's asking for it? Why don't you just say her skirt was really short? Why don't you just say that, why are you making us try to murder you, Donald Trump? Those are all legitimate translations of NBC. I was watching the big weekend show on Fox yesterday when I first heard that clip, and I heard a fired up Joe Concha at that moment, who was appalled at the words of Lester Holt. And here he is now, Joe Concha on the Will Cain Show. What's up, Joe?
Hey, Will, thanks for watching the big weekend show. And yeah, I mean, I saw that on social media, the clip of Lester Holt saying that, and we were interviewing Mark Levin at the time, and you have to call that out. That's in the immediate aftermath, just a couple hours after the second assassination attempt of a former U.S. president, Republican nominee, second time in 60 days, and that is the crap, the utter crap that Lester Holt, remember, this isn't MSNBC. I would kind of expect it from them, I guess. But this is NBC News, the Nightly News, former home of Tom Brokaw. And that was the dot that they connected that, yeah, Donald Trump's been saying these things about Haitian migrants overtaking this town in Springfield, Ohio. He's asking for it. That's exactly the way it should have been interpreted, to your point earlier.
You know, and your point about Lester Holt and NBC is not without merit, because people have learned to dismiss MSNBC. I think most rational people see a clip of Joy Reid and know they're in for a treat. Meaning they're in for a laugh, they're in for some hyperbole, they're in for some insanity. But I know people And I know people make the joke about old people. In fact, I make fun of my friend who's not an old person, relatively, who watches NBC Nightly News. He watches Lester Holt. And I'm like, why do you watch? First of all, why do you need a recap of the day in 30 minutes at 6 p.m.? I don't understand that. And second, like, why is this like your household considers this like objective? But it doesn't matter how much I make fun of my friend or I ask the rhetorical question of why. The point is, people still do. And so that's why this one matters so much, because I know Lester Holt is on. I'm virtually certain Lester Holt's on the left. And you and I and many people listening know NBC News, not just MSNBC, is on the left. But still, this is something coming from Lester Holt.
Yeah. And then you turn over to CBS after the NFL football, Will, and you see 60 Minutes running a segment on how Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. Like, you guys read the room in any way, shape, or form?
Right.
I mean, the fact that somebody got within 300 yards of a president on a golf course with an AK, with a scope, where, you know, if you talk to people who, I don't handle firearms, you know, I'm more of a nunchucks guy than firearms, but that's fine. But you talk to people who are experts in this stuff, and it's a 3-inch putt to hit somebody. We were so lucky again that he wasn't killed in this situation. And then you have Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They couldn't get in front of a microphone in some way, shape, or form to show some semblance of empathy. You put out a statement on Twitter, all right, I guess, but no, I would like to have heard from the sitting president. Yes, he still is President Joe Biden, to denounce this stuff and say, no matter how you vote, this should be unacceptable. Kamala Harris, same thing. Tim Walz, same thing. And all we get are these basically pie in the sky, benign statements on how this is unacceptable. Well, I want to hear from you directly. And the media should be demanding that as well. And of course, we just ain't seeing that. And then that debate last week, totally fixed in Kamala Harris's favor. You see the suspect today is laughing in court. And I think the coverage of Will Smith slapping at the Oscars of Chris Rock probably got more coverage in the aftermath than we saw after the aftermath of the first assassination.
Well, you know what they were fired about?
To go away so quickly. Yeah, go ahead.
You know what they were fired up about yesterday, man? And they weren't just fired up. I got texts. Forget tweets, you know, X posts. I got texts because I have friends, a diverse group of friends. Like, I got a text from a guy that said, your boy's losing it. And I didn't know what he was talking about. This was before the assassination attempt. Yeah. I think he was talking about, I haven't reached out to him to find out, but I think he was talking about the I hate Taylor Swift post on Truth. Like, that was the biggest deal in the world. And by the way, I don't think that was very smart by Donald Trump to post I hate Taylor Swift. Just why motivate? There's if you're weighing pros and cons, there's not a lot of pros. We can analyze the cons. But my point is I have 2 points on this. The extent of which there's a hyperbolic nature about, oh my God, your boy, you know, he's hateful, he's this, right? And then this idea that he's created this, as Lester Holt describes it, I don't know, amped up. Did Lester Holt say violent? He may have said hateful. I don't know what word he used there. But they are saying violent.
Is what he said. And he made baseless claims about Haitian immigrants, which totally glosses over the fact,
but
by the way,
they do say violent.
Yes, 20,000 people. They do say violent in that? Okay. I don't have the exact quote.
No. They do say there are examples of them saying Donald Trump creates a violent atmosphere, right? But I started thinking, like, what? I just wonder. I'm really being honest here, Joe. Like, what's a good example of violent rhetoric from Donald Trump? Like, I hate Taylor Swift. Is that violent? Saying forget the truth or falsehood of they're eating the pets, right? Is that violent? I don't understand. Like, that's not a violent atmosphere. I mean, I do think calling him Hitler, I don't know if that's a violent atmosphere, but I do think it leads to a violent atmosphere.
Oh, yeah. I remember Brian Stelter had a show on Reliable Sources on CNN. He had a guest on that said that Donald Trump had killed more people, murdered more people than Stalin, Hitler, and Mao combined. And Stelter just sat there and just let him say, I swear to God that happened. We could get the clip and throw it in. But yeah, actually said that. And Stelter then later said, oh, my audio went out. I didn't hear him say that. That's the worst liar like ever. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that is more hateful. But again, I mean, the fact that 2 months ago, you had a 20-year-old outflank the entire Secret Service, local law enforcement. He gets a rifle and hides it behind an air conditioner. No one sees it. It's only 130 yards from the stage. Then he gets on this roof with the best line of sight. Again, another 1-inch putt in terms of making that shot. And if Donald Trump doesn't turn far to his left to read a chart on immigration, then yeah, he's dead. There is no second assassination attempt because he would have been taken out in the first. And why is Joe Biden and Kamala Harris? These are the questions media should be asking. Why is Joe Biden and Kamala Harris allowing leadership in the Secret Service to keep their jobs? Is there any accountability? Not one person's lost their job in 2 assassination attempts. How is that possible?
Do you think you'll see any change in the media? Okay, well, and let's. Yeah, I'm here to talk to you about media, but it's also politicians. To your point, they're the ones saying it. The media says it as an echo chamber. All these implications of Donald Trump's threat to America, creating what I've said today is a mass formation psychosis that doesn't turn everybody into a would-be assassin. It doesn't turn everybody into a crazy person necessarily, but it does actually make everybody a little bit delusional about reality. They believe in this hysteria. And then it certainly motivates the crazies. And at some point, like 2 assassination attempts in 2 months, you've got a trend. And you would just hope a trend led to some self-reflection in the media.
It does not happen. And look, if you were to try to define, Will, what is the Kamala Harris campaign slogan? What's the bumper sticker? What was Joe Biden's bumper sticker? If I were to really nail that down, I would think it is democracy is on the ballot. Donald Trump must be stopped. Hakeem Jeffries literally tweeted that out after the assassination, saying Trump must be stopped. Okay, how do you stop him exactly? Oh, do you mean at the ballot box or you mean by other means? Either way, most people will be, well, of course, stop means you make sure he doesn't get in office again by winning the election. But the crazies out there, to your point, like this current assassin now, as we're seeing, they take their cues from the media and Democratic politicians who keep saying, well, we got to take Trump out. Well, yeah, how do you do that? And there you go. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, so again, here we are at this point. NBC News calling this attempt in a headline right afterwards, the Trump golf course incident. No, it was an attempted assassination attempt. And the fact they're trying to gloss over this, just like remember last time, you had some folks on MSNBC News who were not even news, just MSNBC, saying, well, did you think really that Trump got shot? Or, was it some glass that hit him? Like actually questioning whether the bandage on his ear was a prop or not. I mean, this is going to be dismissed and just kind of like blown to the side, just like it was last time. We've seen this movie before. Unfortunately, we're going to see it again.
Yeah, unfortunately. Alleged assassin Ryan Wesley Routh seemed to be consuming that stuff by the pitcher. Joe Concha, Fox News contributor, always great to have you here on the Will Cain Show. Thank you so much. We'll check you out. Thanks, Will. Joe. All right, that's going to do it for us today here on the Will Cain Show. Jump into the comments section. We'll bring you into the show tomorrow. We got a big show still ahead every day this week. So we'll see you here on YouTube, on Facebook, on radio, on Apple, on Spotify. I'll see you again next time.